Just take a look at the universe. Every part of it you look at, you realize that it's alive. But any life eventually comes to an end, and the universe is no different than that. You have to imagine this vast universe as a living thing, and there is a due date for everything. It is true that we can't fathom this reality, but let's go into the future and see what's the last thing that will happen in the universe. After the Big Bang, the universe was like a sleeping child, extremely warm and a lot of hydrogen and helium. With the help of this element, eventually after millions of years, the first stars are born. After the stars are born, they help the universe shape other types of elements, heavier elements like carbon, iron, and even gold. Under these extreme temperatures and pressures, they create so many elements that they eventually run out of fuel, and by something called a supernova, they explode and scatter their bits all over the universe. Supernova after supernova, the ingredients of the universe gets even more complicated and cooler. What happens after a supernova? Most of the times, the core of the star turns into a red dwarf. But what the hell is a red dwarf? A red dwarf is considered a star, but it's much smaller and dimmer. It's dim, but it's alive. And unlike a star, it doesn't use its fuel constantly. It actually turns it down a bit and cooks itself slowly. That's why a red dwarf can stay alive for more than 1 trillion years. But eventually, the red dwarf would die anyways, and it turns into a white dwarf. The white dwarf is one part of a life of a star, because sometimes they're turned into a neutron star or a black hole. These two basically destroy all the gases in space. In a way, you could say they drain all the ingredients that make the universe itself, and slowly they make everything scarce. When we say slow, we really mean slow, because you can't get slower than this. And this causes less and less stars to be born all across the universe. But right now it's too early to tell because the universe is just born. Even though the universe is more than 13 billion years old, a lot of experts believe that it's extremely young. Either way, stars are born, they die, they create red dwarfs, or a neutron star, or a black hole. Generation after generations of star, the ingredients that make up the universe get less and less. This is a theory because there's no way you can actually measure something like this. But they believe in a few trillion years, 88% of the universe's matter will be gone. Just like we said, this is few trillions of years. It could be 2 trillion or 5 trillion years. Even the number trillion is funny because it has 12 zeros. And just imagining some number like this, it's extremely hard for a human. Let's say you want to count to 1 million. How long do you think that will take? It will take about 11 days to count to 1 million. If you want to count to 1 billion, a lot of people don't even know this, but it will take more than 30 years. Some of you haven't even reached 30 years old. so we can't even count to a billion if we started on day 1. If you want to count to a trillion on the other hand, that will take you 30,000 years. So when someone says trillion in any shape or form, just imagine it will take you 30,000 years to count it. That means you have to start counting when the Neanderthals still roamed the earth. But either way, let's go a trillion years into the future with our thoughts. At this time, there's probably no stars and they're all dead. There are some red dwarfs and black holes, but most of the universe are white dwarfs. White dwarfs are the corpses of stars. Even though a regular white dwarf is the size of planet Earth, but it has the mass of half of our sun. So it's extremely dense. Even though a white dwarf is much smaller, but because of its density, it has a lot of fuel, so it's much hotter than any other star. A regular star like our sun is about 5,000 degrees centigrade on the surface, but a white dwarf is more than 150,000 degrees centigrade on the surface. It's kind of like filling planet Earth with a whole bunch of natural gas and lighting one gas stove all the way up. It's going to burn extremely slowly, but it's extremely hot. Some estimate that a white dwarf will burn for more than 10 trillion years. But this has never happened before, and nobody truly knows because this is all a theory. But they believe after the life of a white dwarf, it will basically turn into a charcoal, also known as a black dwarf, something that has never been seen before, and we don't even know if it will truly exist. The reason nobody has seen a black dwarf, because the age of the universe is too young, and there's no way a black dwarf could have been formed. If we had a certain equipment and we could visit that time, you will most likely see a vast sea of lights slowly turning off one by one. And what you're seeing is the death of a white dwarf turning into a black dwarf. And eventually the universe would be an extremely cold and dark place. But at this time, black holes are alive and well, and they're sucking up anything they can find. Even though there is no matter anymore, but they're still active because they have a lot of fuel left. Some believe that black holes are immortal and they will forever be here, but some say no. Just like everything in the universe, it will eventually die. But they say the black hole will survive about 1 Google. That number means you put a 1 and 100 zeros in front of it. You might ask, why is it called a Google, the website name? But you have to know the website got the name from this number. Even though the universe is complete darkness, but it will still live on. The black dwarfs are gonna survive for trillions and trillions of years. But since there's no living thing, time doesn't even matter. It could survive for 1 year or trillions and trillions of years. It doesn't matter because nobody's there to witness it. But what will happen after the black dwarf? This is where our brains stop working because we truly can't fathom anything else after this. But all we know, the universe is going to be a dark and cold place. But don't get sad because the universe is extremely young. And thinking about this is just theories. There's no truth to them. We have a lot of time to figure out where we are and why we're here. But just like anything in the universe itself will go all the way up and come down. And just like Isaac Newton said, what goes up must come down.